The Earth is a changing world. In this changing world, some changes are natural, others are man-made. As beautiful as creation is, it can also have downsides. The creation of our society that relies on fossil fuel can be seen as normal on our average day, but taking a deeper look into it, it can be quite damaging. Damaging to us, maybe, but damaging to the Earth. Fossil fuels emit CO2. What this does is that it leads to more heat into the atmosphere. This leads to changing Earth temperature. One of the biggest changes that we are suffering in this day and age has to do with melting ice caps.
At times, this melting can be unseen and ignored. This is due to how hard it is to notice these changes and how some parts of the world are just unaware of what is happening. It is also hard to notice because of how some people just don't care or aren't willing to do anything about it. To begin with, ice caps are glaciers, thick layers of ice and snow. Ice caps are very important features for the Earth's water cycle, since they affect volumes and the qualities of water around the globe. They also help reflect excess heat back into the atmosphere, which helps with the cooling of the globe. If melted, it can lead to a positive feedback loop. But what is a positive feedback loop? At first, a person might think it leads to stability and helps fix problems in a system. However, it is actually the complete opposite. This being, it is a destabilizing loop, which can also be named a vicious cycle, that leads to a very loose state of equilibrium. When we see this in the melting of ice caps, the reflection of sunlight decreases, leading to more ice melting, and so on, decreasing the albedo effect, which is the ability for the Earth to reflect sunlight. Additionally, some devastating effects can be seen from the melting of these crucial ice caps. These can be effects such as floods, tsunamis, and the exposure of unknown diseases. The effects of ice caps melting can also lead to an increase in the surface temperature of the planet. For example, in Antarctica and Greenland, ocean currents are changing in response to ice caps melting. The rise of carbon emissions from cars and factories increases the temperature of the Earth, causing the ice to melt. With less ice caps, the ocean's circulation belt is slowing down, which uncovers very profound consequences to humans and the environment. Mainly in Europe, winters are getting colder and summers are getting warmer. This is due to the fact that ocean currents carry temperatures from the south to the north and vice versa. Similarly, one ocean could freeze or reach very low temperatures, while another rises in temperatures exponentially. Also, rainfall patterns in the tropics are changing and warm waters are building up along the US coast, which can also speed up the process of rising sea levels and destructive storms.
Even though the effect of ice melting can be measured through time and through the world, the process can be seen and assessed more closely in various regions and countries. One of them being the country of Greenland, which contains the second largest ice mass in the world, with Antarctica being the first. From the loss of ice due to its melting, as well as the size of Greenland and its percentage of land which is ice, this being around 80% of the country, amounting to 1.7 million square kilometers, the melting of it can lead to the increase of sea levels around the planet. The contribution of Greenland can be seen that if all ice in the country melts, sea levels could rise up to 7.2 meters, creating a threat to various coastal cities around the globe. Some predictions have already been made regarding Greenland's contributions to sea level rises of the 21st century. This can be such as the normal case being 2.6 to 2.8 centimeters, and the worst case scenario, an increase can be seen of 5 centimeters. This due to the ever-increasing UV radiation from 1997. According to a study conducted by the Symbiosis International University, the reports from the University of Texas at Austin, as well as the organization Carbon Brief. From this, we can point out one of the feedback loops which was mentioned before, due to the UV radiation leading to the increase of growth of dark algae, which can later increase the absorption and increase of heating of the ocean.
Since the beginning of history, humans, bacteria, and viruses have lived side by side. Humans have always found various ways to cure any disease with vaccines. For example, smallpox, flu, polio, and many more. However, with the melting of ice caps, new and old diseases are starting to appear. Greenhouse gases are gases that get trapped in the Earth's atmosphere. They are the main factors of the Earth's global warming. Carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide are few of the gases that are released into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat similar to the glass roof of a greenhouse. At night, Earth's surface cools, releasing heat back into the air. But some of this heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases. They are emitted from the industries every year. It is also one of the main reasons behind climate change and global warming. The gases create a blanket for the air that we breathe, but it also protects us from the blast of heat and radiation emanating from the sun. It warms the planet by day and cools it at night. Too much of these gases can cause Earth's atmosphere to trap more and more heat, which in result will cause Earth to warm up. Many ecosystems and habitats rely on low temperatures to maintain its rich environments and to keep organisms alive. As mentioned before, ice glaciers are melting and animals from that biome are dying. This is an issue not only for marine animals, but also for terrestrial beings living in coastal areas around the different continents of the Earth. Melting ice turns into water, meaning that the melting glaciers are causing sea levels and water temperatures to rise.
A study has claimed that new diseases are being uncovered and released from melting ice caps. Diseases that have been buried for thousands of years. This is a very big problem concerning humanity's well-being. For example, in August of 2016, a 12-year-old boy in the Yamal Peninsula passed due to a disease called anthrax. 20 other people in the peninsula were hospitalized with the same case of anthrax. A scientific study performed on the case says that the theory is that over 75 years ago, a reindeer infected with anthrax died and its frozen carcass became trapped under a layer of frozen soil known as permafrost. There, it stayed until a heat wave in the summer of 2016 when the permafrost thawed, melting the ice, and therefore releasing the animal disease into the peninsula.
After this documentary, you might be thinking that we're all doomed and there's no turning back from what we have created. And yes, you're a little right. However, several actions can be taken in order to mitigate the effects as well as adapt to them. To start with, one approach that can be taken and has been taken in order to diminish the increase of global warming is by focusing on some of the origins of the problem. This can be diminishing and decrease the use of fossil fuels, as they can lead to the creation of greenhouse gases, leading to the increase of the Earth's average surface temperature. Way that people can contribute to fixing this issue is by promoting using less fossil fuels. So instead of using your car every day, you could walk to short destinations or use a bike. This helps reduce the amount of CO2 emission one lets out, but also can get in a good workout.
Another day-to-day strategy that could be used in order to combat climate change is to consume less meat. Meat and dairy products are responsible for 14.5% of global climate changing emissions, according to carbonbrief.org. This is proven because when forests are being destroyed in order to create more land for livestock for industrial meat, tons of carbon dioxide are released into the atmosphere, which accelerates global warming through the enhanced greenhouse effect. Therefore, consuming less meat can help with the contribution of fixing climate change.
Lastly, if your job requires the use of a vehicle and is far from home, switching to an eco-friendly vehicle could decrease the amount of fossil fuel emissions. The fewer emissions of CO2 would contribute to helping climate change as well as emitting less smog than conventional vehicles. All electric vehicles produce zero direct emissions, which specifically helps improve air quality in urban areas like in Mexico City and Los Angeles.
However, this can lead to various problems, and some might argue that it is too late to mitigate this issue. Therefore, adaptation is the only way to solve the problem. Some of the ways this can be solved is through the changing of cities and preparing them for an increase of sea levels, which can lead to massive floodings in them. Countries such as Japan, and especially the city of Osaka, will need to be reshaped, and changes it can flood dense urban areas that can lead, according to the UN and The Guardian, damages worth $1 trillion by the 2070s. Nevertheless, some people can see this method as expensive and can increase the country's debt. Compared with other adaptation methods, this can be the most efficient. The main message that we're trying to get across is not to worry, as there are various solutions to this global ever-growing problem. However, education on this is necessary, or this issue can be close to impossible to solve. Therefore, no matter what your views are regarding the state of Earth as a whole, this is the only place we have, and if destroyed, others won't be as fun.